Diddy just got sentenced to 50 months in federal prison. But here's what's really crazy. Criminal lawyers are now warning he might not make it out alive. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who once ruled hip-hop could be a walking target behind bars. And the reason why? It's way more sinister than you think. Look, I know you want to know why experts think Diddy's life is in danger, even though he just dodged a life sentence. And trust me, after going through all the evidence, even I was shocked at what I found. So here's what we're covering today. First, we're breaking down why Diddy's lawyers are actually genius, and why getting just 4 years is a massive win when he was facing life. Then, we're getting into the dark stuff. Why criminal lawyers and even former mob members are saying Diddy won't survive long in prison. We'll talk about the specific prison he requested and what that really means. Plus, we've got the names, the powerful Hollywood people who might want Diddy silenced before he can talk. This is gonna get intense, so let's get into it. Alright, first things first. Let me give you the quick rundown of what actually happened in that courtroom. The judge sentenced Diddy to 50 months in federal prison. That's a little over 4 years. Now this was for 2 counts of something called the Mann Act. Basically, that means transporting people across state lines for prostitution. Heavy stuff, right? But here's the thing that shocked everyone. He was acquitted, meaning found not guilty of the most serious charges. We're talking sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy. Those are the charges that could have locked him up for life. The defense team was asking for just 14 months, which would have been basically time served since he's already been locked up for about 13 months. The prosecution, they wanted 135 months. That's 11 years, folks. The judge landed right in the middle at 50 months. Now you might be thinking, okay, so 4 years, that's not too bad, right? Well, hold on. Let me show you why this is actually way more complicated than it sounds.
So Diddy was sentenced, and I said he'd be somewhere 56 to 63 months or something, and I thought maybe even 70 months. Well, the judge gave him 50 months. Let's kind of calculate. I got my handy dandy calculator right here. Let's calculate what that would mean. And these are approximate numbers, just so you know. So you take 50 times 0.85 equals 42 and a half months. That's with good time, right? And then he's already done 13 months roughly. And so that means 29 and a half months that he still has left to serve. Now he'll probably serve 6 months of that in a halfway house. So you take another 6 off of that. So that's roughly just about 2 years that he'll have to serve. But guess what? Once he's done doing that, he'll be on supervised release. And so that is another term of probation. And he'll have random testing. He won't be able to possess pornography. He will have to have his devices monitored, and if he f***s up on that, they can send him back to prison.
Criminal lawyer Bruce Rivers did the math for us, and honestly, this is where it gets interesting. The judge gave Diddy 50 months, sure, but with something called good time credit, basically behaving well in prison. That gets reduced to about 42.5 months. 2 years instead of life. Let that sink in for a second.
He was sentenced to 50 months, and we kind of calculated what the actual time that he has to serve. And he got 5 years supervised release. That means he's on probation for 5 years after he gets out. And if he f***s up on that, he can go back to prison. And then the judge also gave him a $500,000 fine, which he's got plenty of money, so that's not going to be an issue for him. So here's the long and short of it. This is not a light sentence for Diddy at all. I mean, most people who go through this, the Mann Act, just prostitution across state lines, they don't have all the other conduct that Diddy was involved in, but they don't have a heavy sentence. In fact, a lot of people don't even go to prison on a case like this. But there was just so much to this case. That's why Diddy got hammered. Not because of who he is, but because of the prolific nature of what the he did and who he did it to. There were victim impact statements, both impact statements from both the victims, and Diddy created his own video. So let's take a look at this.
But, and this is a big but, there's a catch. After he gets out, Diddy has 5 years of supervised release. Think of it like being on probation, but way stricter. We're talking random drug tests whenever they want. He can't possess pornography at all, and for someone with alleged addiction issues, that's tough. They're going to put monitoring software on all his devices, his phone, his computer, everything. He can't just travel wherever he wants, can't leave the country, and get this, he has to register as a sex offender for 10 years. If he violates any of these rules, straight back to prison, no questions asked.
I'm not going to watch any more of this crap. But the defense lawyers in this case did a remarkable job. Remember where we came from. He was looking at life in prison, and now he's got another 29 months to do, roughly. Thereabouts, 23 or 29, depending upon, what kind of credit he gets. And then that's it. And then he's going to be on supervised release. He'll be tested, because we're part of this case. He won't be able to take drugs, cocaine or otherwise. He won't be able to go wherever he wants. He won't be able to leave the country. I thought it was hubris that his lawyers said that they had, the lawyers asked for 14 months. The prosecutor asked for 135, and the judge gave him 50, so kind of in the middle. But I thought it was hubris that his lawyer said that he had a gig for speaking, the next day in Miami already booked. That shows a hubris. That shows like a lack of awareness, and it's like, read the room. Here's the thing. Diddy is symptomatic of just power gone awry. He's going to have to register as a offender.
Now, here's why lawyers are calling his legal team brilliant. Remember, this dude was looking at life in prison. His lawyers managed to get him acquitted on the charges that would have locked him away forever. One legal expert put it perfectly. The defense lawyers in this case did a remarkable job. He was facing life, and now he's got maybe 2 more years to do. That's not just good lawyering, that's masterclass legal work, if we're being honest here. Even Suge Knight's own lawyer had to admit it was impressive. Okay, so now we get to the part that should honestly scare everyone involved. Why are lawyers worried about Diddy's safety?
Perhaps believing that I may start naming names. That day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already.
Here's the deal. Diddy's not just some regular inmate. He knows things about very powerful people. And I'm not talking about your average celebrities. We're talking about people with serious money and serious connections. Tony Busby, that's the lawyer who pretty much started this whole movement against Diddy, he made a warning that honestly gave me chills. He said, and I quote, "The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs." And there's a lot of names. Think about that for a second. These aren't just random people. We're talking about folks who have the resources to make problems disappear. Now, I know what you're thinking. Come on, this sounds like a conspiracy theory. But remember what happened to Jeffrey Epstein? Found dead in his cell under what a lot of people call suspicious circumstances. Epstein knew powerful people's secrets too. But here's the scary difference. Word on the street is that Diddy kept receipts, videos, evidence, documents, everything. Criminal lawyers are warning that this actually makes him a bigger target than Epstein ever was. Because if you're someone powerful and you're on those tapes, you've got every reason to want Diddy silenced before he can talk or make a deal. But wait, it gets even crazier. Michael Franzese, this guy's a former mob member, right? He came out and said something that honestly made my jaw drop. He said, "Guys in the mob did some terrible, terrible things. The murders were gruesome and violent and painful, and they served a purpose. They were meant to terrify people into staying in line." Then he compared that to what Diddy's accused of and said, "If we did that in the mob, we would be killed for it. We would never touch women and children and stuff like that. So that's against our rules, our principles." Let me repeat that. A former mobster is saying that even the mafia wouldn't tolerate what Diddy allegedly did. He literally said, if he was in the mafia and we knew what he was doing, he would have been killed. There would be no trial. When the mob thinks you crossed a line, man, that's saying something. All right, so now let's talk about where Diddy actually wants to go, because this is where things get really interesting.
Diddy requested to choose his own prison. He's asking to do his 4-year sentence at Fort Dix in New Jersey, like he's booking a room at the Marriott. Apparently, he told the judge he wants to go to Fort Dix Federal Prison because they have drug treatment programs and he's trying to better himself. He claims he wants rehab, wants to stay closer to his family, and wants access to RDAP, Residential Drug Abuse Program. Now, if the judge agrees, Diddy could reduce his sentence with programs and be in a safer environment.
Diddy requested, like specifically asked for, a prison called Fort Dix in New Jersey, and people are comparing it to booking a room at the Marriott, which honestly made me laugh. But here's what he told the judge. He wants Fort Dix because they have drug treatment programs, and he's trying to better himself. He says he wants rehab, wants to stay closer to his family in New York, and wants access to something called RDAP. That's the Residential Drug Abuse Program. On paper, that all sounds reasonable, right? If the judge agrees, Diddy could reduce his sentence even more through these programs and be in what's considered a safer environment. But hold up, is that really the whole story? Former warden Dr. D. Wayne Hendricks broke this down, and honestly, it makes you think. Fort Dix isn't the worst prison out there. It's not like those maximum security places you see in movies, but it's definitely not Camp Cupcake either. Here's the thing though, even though Diddy's sentence technically qualifies him for a minimum security camp, Dr. Hendricks says he probably won't get that because he's too high profile. So why Fort Dix specifically? Is he trying to get to a location where he can maintain certain connections? Or is he genuinely just looking for the safest spot possible? That's the million-dollar question that nobody seems to have a clear answer to.
Do a deal with me when I get out, a business deal. They need money. Because of the fact that he's a money guy, I think he's going to have more friends than he will enemies. And in a medium security, normally nobody's looking to shank you. When you get into the higher institutions, when people are doing, a ton of time and there's no way you can benefit them, then you got a little more problem. But in a medium security, I don't think he'll have an issue at all. I really don't. He can be too much of a benefit to inmates that are always looking for something. And he could be a golden ticket for some people, at least in their mind.
I could just talk to you for hours and hours, but I have some other guests lined up, so I got to say bye there. But to Michael Francis, thank you so much for being on again. I really appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me. Take care.
Now here's where prison politics gets real complicated. Former inmate Michael Franzese explained that high-profile inmates with money face two big problems. First, you've got people who want to befriend you, hoping for business deals when they get out. Franzese said this happened to him. Every inmate and their brother was trying to line up deals for when he got released. But here's the flip side. You've also got people who see you as a way to make a name for themselves. Taking down someone famous? That's instant respect in prison. Franzese explained it like this. Because of the fact that he's a money guy, I think he's going to have more friends than he will enemies. In a medium security, normally nobody's looking to shank you. When you get into the higher institutions, when people are doing a ton of time and there's no way you can benefit them, then you got a little more problem. So Diddy's basically walking this tightrope. Some inmates will want to protect him hoping for a payoff. Others might want to hurt him to build their reputation. And if those powerful people we talked about earlier decide to reach out to someone inside, well, that changes everything. Okay, now I've got to tell you about what happened in that courtroom, because it was honestly heartbreaking, regardless of how you feel about Diddy.
Everyone's coming up to me and saying, "Did you see Nicole Westmoreland?"
Bullshit.
Crying. People go, we had to do a double take, like, was that really her on the, like, she was literally, you guys, bawling while giving a statement. Like, we don't see that often. Usually lawyers are, like, calm, collected. She was up there crying as if, like, she was one of Diddy's family members. And then people are coming up to me going like this. Did you see? Yeah, I saw. I heard, I saw, and I don't know what to make of it. It was very strange to see a lawyer cry, I guess. And I don't know if those were real tears or if they were crocodile tears. All I know is that when she was up there, people were like the whole room started, not the whole room, but a lot of people in the room started crying when the kids were crying, because those were real tears for sure. But Nicole's tears were like confusing for sure. People were like, wait, what? We're just not used to seeing that, a lawyer cry. Do you think Brian Steele's gonna get up there and sob? So we'll see what happens.
One of Diddy's lawyers, Nicole Westmoreland, literally broke down crying while giving her statement. And I'm not talking about getting a little teary-eyed. People in the courtroom said she was full-on sobbing. One person described it as bawling while giving a statement. Now here's why that's so unusual. Lawyers almost never show that level of emotion. They're trained to stay calm and collected. So when everyone started coming up after court asking, "Did you see Nicole Westmoreland crying?" it was because nobody could believe what they just witnessed. People were doing double takes, like, was that really her? The person reporting from the courtroom said they didn't know if the tears were real or if it was strategic courtroom theater. But here's what got me. They said when Nicole was crying, a lot of people in the room started crying too, especially when the kids spoke. Because those tears, those were definitely real. Speaking of the kids, man, this was tough to hear about. 6 of Diddy's 7 children showed up to court to plead for their dad, and what they said was absolutely heartbreaking. Quincy, that's the oldest, not even Diddy's biological son, said, "He is our father in front of us. He's a changed man. Week after week, we see him evolve. Our father will never do anything to jeopardize his freedom ever again." Justin Combs begged the judge, "Please give our father a second chance. This has been the toughest time he's ever been through. This time saved my father's life. I talk to my father every day. He's changed for the better. I ask you to see my father the way I do." Christian got pretty emotional too. He said, "I'm the one who people say I look the most like my pops. I studied my dad up and down. He's my superhero. He taught me to treat women with respect." Then he talked about having to travel across the country just to see his dad for 2 hours and said, "He's changed. I see in his eyes as his twin that he's changed. Please give my family grace and please give him mercy." But the daughters, that's when it really got heavy. Jessie Combs broke down immediately when she started talking. She said, "We aren't here to excuse his mistakes. We need him in our life. I lost my mom when I was very young. He promised to be there to keep us safe." Chance reminded the judge, "We're just his daughters, but we do need our father. When we talk, he speaks with a clear mind. He's more patient. He's thoughtful. Our sister deserves a father who's present, to teach her how to ride a bike, to tuck her in at night." And then Delilah said something that honestly broke my heart. "We're scared of the thought of not having our mom and our dad in our life. These are the years that we'll never get back. We have lost our mom. We already lost so much. Please, Your Honor, give our family the chance to heal together." I mean, regardless of what you think about Diddy, those are kids who've already lost their mother, and now they're watching their dad get taken away. That's rough.
How unprecedented was it showing that video, especially the way it was put together, made him look like this great father, philanthropist, and this guy who was doing so much for the community?
How old are you? How old are you? 2. You got a 2. That's 2.
I started out just like you guys. I come from New York. I grew up in Harlem. Clap it up on the sideline. Let's get our energy right. Come on.
For the defense, I think they would say it's a balance, and it was well produced. There's no doubt about that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's such a well-produced video. Does that hurt him that it looks like he went out and hired a production company to make that video?
You would think that there was a lot of thought and intent that went into making a video like that, but it was well produced. It had the highlight reel of his life. Even despite his submission and his letter saying this is the first time that he's been sober for over 25 years, Kevin, I couldn't help but wonder.
The defense also played this 11-minute video they created showing Diddy as a father, philanthropist, and businessman. One reporter said it was unprecedented, showing Diddy with his kids as babies, running marathons, giving back to the community. They even included footage from Kim Porter's funeral, which some people thought was shocking. But after everything, the crying lawyer, the heartbroken kids, the emotional video, the judge still came back with his decision. And he said something really important. A history of good works cannot wash away the record in this case. That tells you everything about how the judge viewed this situation. All right, now we're getting to the part that has a lot of powerful people sweating right now.
That day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs, and there's a lot of names. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are, but because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and corroborate what we've been told, are names that will shock you.
Tony Busby, remember he represents over 120 alleged Diddy victims, made a promise a few months ago, and what he said should have every celebrity in Hollywood nervous. He said, "Well, that day will come, but it won't be today. The day will come when we will name names other than Sean Combs." And there's a lot of names. Then he dropped this bomb. It's a long list already. And of course, I already know who some of these individuals are. But because of the nature of this case, we're going to make damn sure that we're right before we do that. And here's the part that probably has people losing sleep. But the names that we're going to name, assuming that our investigators confirm and cooperate, what we've been told are names that will shock you. Names that will shock you. From a lawyer who's already taken down Diddy. Think about who that could be. Busby laid out exactly who he's going after, and the list is insane. He's not just targeting people who directly participated. He said, these are individual cases. There are indeed other perpetrators involved. They will be revealed when that particular individual case is ready to be filed. But then he expanded it. They already know who they are. And I'm talking here about not just the cowardly but complicit bystanders. That is, those people that we know watched this behavior occur and did nothing. Let that sink in. He's going after people who just watched and did nothing. He continued, and I'm talking about the people that participated, encouraged it, egged it on. They know who they are. He even gave them a name. He called them the facilitators of foul play. But it gets even bigger. He said, these defendants will not only include individuals, but would also include corporate entities who ultimately profited off of this culture and behavior. I'm looking at banks, pharmaceutical companies, hotels, banks, hotels, companies that looked the other way and made money off all of this.
And then doesn't turn it over to a general publishing group, but sends it to Jay-Z's lawyer and says, by the way, we're going to put this out unless you pay us millions of dollars, bespeaks the real motives behind this. And let me just say this.
Now, here's where it gets really juicy. Remember Cassie's lawsuit, the one that started this whole thing? There's been talk about why it was sent to Jay-Z's lawyers before going public. Some people are saying it's because Cassie waits 10, 12 years to file a lawsuit and writes a book, and then doesn't turn it over to a general publishing group, but sends it to Jay-Z's lawyers. Could Jay-Z or even Beyonce be on that list of names Busby plans to expose? I'm not saying they are, but people are definitely asking the question.
I would imagine, as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their texts and data. Now, although these are in fact individual cases.
And this is why Diddy might be a target. Busby said, these people who know who they are should just come forward now. I would imagine as we speak here, there are a myriad of people who are very nervous. You can't hide skeletons in the closet forever. I would expect there are many people out there right now who are desperately searching their memories as they delete their text and data. Delete their texts and data. That's literally what he said. Okay, so let's talk about what happens after Diddy gets out, because a lot of people think he does his time and then he's free. That's not how this works.
You know, and it's like, read the f***ing room. You know, here's the thing. Diddy is symptomatic of just power gone awry. He's going to have to register as a offender. And he'll probably have to do that for 10 years. And if he doesn't, guess what? That's a separate crime altogether. So this can follow him. So if you're thinking, oh, Diddy got off, blah, blah. Well, his lawyers did a good job. And, you know, and he still has the right to appeal his conviction and his sentence. It ain't going to go anywhere because the evidence of the Mann Act violations were overwhelming. He's now tagged with 2 felonies. He's not free to go about and do what he wants to do. For the next, 89 months or thereabouts, he's going to be under the control of the federal government. And that's no little thing for a guy like this. So here's what supervised release is going to be like for him. It'll be intense at first. They'll drug test him. They'll put monitoring software on his devices. They will, they'll have constant meetings and check-ins and that kind of thing once he gets out of prison. And as time goes on and he demonstrates compliance, the supervision will get less and less intense, probably to the point where he just has to call in once in a while.
For 5 full years after he's released, Diddy will be under supervised release. And this isn't like regular probation. This is serious government control over his life. Here's what it looks like. It'll be intense at first. They'll drug test him. They'll put monitoring software on his devices. They'll have constant meetings and check-ins and that kind of thing once he gets out of prison. Now, if he behaves and follows all the rules, as time goes on and he demonstrates compliance, the supervision will get less and less intense. Probably to the point where he just has to call in once in a while. But here's the problem. The lawyer explaining this said, but if you get too complacent and all of a sudden, you don't register, or all of a sudden, is an addiction, right? And if you're looking at all the time, guess what? It's tough to stop that. For someone with Diddy's lifestyle, following these strict rules for 5 years is going to be incredibly difficult. And every violation sends him right back to prison. So let me bring this all together for you.
That he is part of this community of people that have to be supervised, and he gave the government a big foray into controlling his life. And that's what happens when you decide to break the law. That's our little Diddy update. I was close on my prediction, wasn't I? I think a little I was. But I've seen these things time and time again.
So it's no little thing that he is part of this community of people that have to be supervised. And he gave the government a big foray into controlling his life. And that's what happens when you decide to break the law. Diddy's legal team pulled off something incredible. They reduced his sentence from potential life to basically 2 more years. That's amazing legal work, honestly. But here's the real question. Will he survive those 2 years? Do you think Diddy will make it out of prison safely? Or is he in real danger? And do you think Tony Buzdy is actually going to expose those big names, or will they find a way to stop him? Let's talk about this in the comments. I want to hear what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.